Hello guys and girls, how's it going? Screezilla here and I hope you're all well. And today you join me in the Arsenal VB10C. Rather interesting plane actually. Now this is a French Tier 3 heavy fighter and probably say it's my favourite French fighter so far as a purely French plane. It's a bit of an interesting concept as well. The Arsenal VB10 was sort of put into production and work in around about 1939, I think, off the top of my head. It was put to paper in around about that time. The VB10 was a sort of prototype early stages of the war, and it didn't reach its potential and its place until it didn't really get made until after the war, although orders were put in for the plane before even a prototype had launched. The plane didn't get to do anything. So the VB10 is a interesting plane, as I say. It's a twin engine plane. The engines are seated in tandem, driving two separate propeller units in the nose with a contra-rotating propeller system. So let's just switch to this view. So as you see here, you can sort of see the propellers there. If we just pause for a second, you can just see them. Actually, if we just go to the slowest possible motion. There we go. Perfect. So as you can see, one spins to the left and one spins to the right to give this plane a little bit more torque and force. Contra-rotating blades are good. They give a little bit of an increase in power. It's not a huge amount, but it is an increase nonetheless. Each propeller is driven by two separate engines. We have the front engine and the rear engine. Now both of these are Hispano-Suiza 12-cylinder engines, producing around about 1500 horsepower each. Let's just go back to normal speed now. Clickety-clickety-click. There we go. So, where am I in my notes? So, the order was placed for this plane before any physical plane had been built, before any prototypes, because the French needed modern fighters for the upcoming war. Unfortunately, Germany invaded France, and of May 1940, the plane was put on hiatus. However, the VB-10 was allowed to gestate under the Vichy French regime, though progress was very slow. So slow, as I said, that the first plane did not get airborne until July 7th, 1945. The war ending officially in May of that year, so yeah, a little bit late to the game, this one. The prototype carried twin Hispano-Suiza engines, slightly less power, only at 860 horsepower. They were a slightly different variant of the engine. Liquid-cooled inline engines they were as well. But the design of the plane was pretty sound. The French Air Force was so impressed by it, they put in an order for 200 of these planes, which is not a bad effort, really. So the fighter contract was given on the December 22nd, 1945. A second prototype appeared and differed in its engine fit-out, and that was this one that we have in game. Actually, was it? Or was... No, I think they've both got the same engines in the game. They've both got the 12Z1213 engines. However, the second prototype had quad Hispano-Suiza cannons and 6 12.7mm Brownings. And this flew in September of 1946. Production was underway, and first flight of production quality came on November 3rd, 1947, The main production version, we have an HS-129 here. We're just going to give it a bit of a blast. We've got a couple of hits, managed to damage a flap. We've overshot him, but luckily he's gone down with that flap damage. So the first production came, and they were made with the twin engine layout and the armament of quad Hispano cannons, HS-404 cannons. However, by this time, the 200 strong production order had been reduced to 50 units only, and was ultimately cancelled after only 7 planes were built, in favour of jet-powered aircraft. So, 6 were built in total. That's including the prototypes. So not many of these planes were built, unfortunately. It had a pretty decent performance outline with a top speed of 435 miles per hour, a range of over 100,000. Not 100,000, 1,000, that's one. 1,000 miles, 100,000 miles, that'd be bloody impressive. Just 1,000 miles, and a ceiling of operation of 36,000 feet. Rate of climb was 200 feet per minute, so not all bad in all honesty, not a terrible plane. As I said, it is a heavy fighter slash interceptor in its design. And all in all, it's a pretty interesting little plane. But it's a bit like many planes that we've got in the French line, in the fact that there weren't many built, and they were mainly just in their prototype stages. But at least this is a actual working plane that was built and was put into manufacture, even though it didn't see it, because it was put into manufacture post-war. So the fact you're only a 4.0 BR means you're going to be facing planes built early war, early to mid-war, so you're in a much more advanced plane, but it's not going to affect it too much. First of all, let me talk about the guns. The quad Hispanos are actually pretty good in this plane. They're some of the better guns I've had so far in the French. We've got a BF-109 here, coming to the side. Got a couple of shots off, and he is down. So that is good. We've managed to take out 2 planes so far. Yeah, the Hispanos in this plane are not too bad. You also have some good ammunition, carrying 600 rounds of ammunition, so trying to do my maths now. Yep, can't do my maths. Can't work it out. Some things. So, 150 per gun? Yeah, 150 per gun. Sorry, that took me too long, that one. So, all in all, not terrible. The thing that really sets this plane apart is its ability to head on. It's a pretty good head-on plane, really. The biggest issue is the guns, because the French 20mm guns are pretty pathetic, in all honesty. But they're not terrible. I imagine the second variant with the 50 cals is going to be an absolute weapon at head-on attacks. The main advantage you have is you do have some armour on this plane. So you've got 60mm of armour on the front and back of the cockpit, but you've got your engine configuration right here at the front. So head-on, you pretty much take all the damage to your engine, but you've got that second engine which you can fly on without too much problem. Now, you will lose a lot of speed, but you do pretty well with just the one engine in this plane. I've done a little bit of testing for it, and it's not too bad, in all honesty. You do struggle with turning. It's not really you're not going to out-turn much in this plane. This thing is not a turn fighter. It's a boom and zoomer. Now, I'm going to be head-on here with the BF-109. Decide better of it. And see if I can go for this G55S here. But I turn away because that BF-109's changed his attention to the SB2 there. Spin around for him. And see if I can get that BF-109 down. flaps are a bit iffy on this plane as well. They do tear pretty easily above about, I think it's about 200 odd miles per hour. Now you'll see here the amount of sparks I got off that BF-109, and that's the biggest problem with this plane and those guns. I've had a lot of issue with French guns, just basically sparking every time you hit something. And well, it's not really a problem with just the French guns, it's a problem with 20mm Hispanos in general. A similar issue happens to the Spitfires and the like. It's just frustrating that 20mm cannons really don't feel like they do much damage. So we're going to head on here. So head on with the BF-109, and as you can see, my ammo is a bit all over the place there. I think I got 1 or 2 hits on him. Managed to damage the oil tank, which is good. Running a bit low on ammunition, which is a common problem as well with the French planes. I must admit, French fighters have been not too popular with the fact that their ammunition is so low, and it's a bit of a problem for balancing aspects, because there isn't really much balance involved in that. I know they change some planes to balance them out a little bit better, but the French planes feel very ill-balanced, let's say, unfortunately. But all in all, it's a pretty good plane. So I'm going to head on here with the BF-109, coming in, got a couple of shots off. We managed to get a hit on him as well. Again, it pretty much just sparks, but we did get a couple of hits and managed to cause him to crash, which is something at least. But we're out of ammunition, so it's time to go home. The big thing here, though, is our engine is being damaged. So our front engine is leaking oil all over the place and about to die. As you can see, it's starting to go yellow or straight away, and it's starting to get problems. Now, normally this could be a game over for you, but as I said, this plane with its twin engine layout means you can take that damage to the front and still get home, which is just fantastic. It really does help with the survivability of this plane. The torque aspect of the counter-rotating blades as well does help a bit. You tend to find this plane's got a good little bit of acceleration when you need it. It's very heavy though, and that is one of the biggest problems. So I'll remain in this replay just for the landing for us. It's not one of my best landings, but once I finish, we'll head back to the hangar. All in all, I can say that this plane's been performing pretty well. This is actually my first game in it as well. So this is my very first game in this plane, and I got 3 kills. So I was pretty chuffed with that, considering I'm not a very good fighter pilot. I am one of the worst fighter pilots you're ever going to meet. So for me to get 3 kills means that a plane is actually not terrible. I got lucky with a couple of those kills, though, you've got to admit. I have been finding, though, that the HS 120, I think it is, the General Hispano gun for most of the planes for the French crews have been just awful, especially with some of the French bombers. I've really been struggling to get many kills with those guns. I've actually found the 7.5mm machine guns to be more effective on my MB162 than my 20mm Hispanos, which it sounds ridiculous, but it's just how they've been going. So we're coming in a bit fast here for the landing, but the plane's going well. Let's just pause here for a moment to switch to the external camera, and we'll just get a good view of the landing gear come down. The plane is not a bad looking plane either. It's quite an aerodynamic plane. The landing gear all retract inside, including the tail gear as well. It is a tail dragger, but the tail gear does recline back into the plane, which is nice. It's not a hard plane to fly, but it does feel very heavy. It's a bit like flying a jug. But it feels like a heavier jug, basically. You're not going to do well in a turn fight, but you can boom and zoom in it, and you do okay with it. So I was actually busy reading something here, not paying attention to my landing. I noticed my tail go down and was busy chatting to the team. And as you will see, that is a mistake because pressing the brakes a bit too hard. Whomp, down we go. So, yeah, that was a bit of a mistake, but we made it down and were repaired. Now, this game just ends with a pretty easy kill on me from a plane that was above me and was not making any noise, interestingly enough. But we won't worry about that. We will head back to the hangar. The rest of the replay is pretty boring other than me dying. So I'll just show you this plane in the hangar view quickly. So as you see, you've got the twin three-bladed props, the twin Hispano Suiza engines inside, and you've got the front armour and rear armour, the 50mm armour. I think I said 60mm before, but it has got that effective thickness at level flight of 60mm because of the curving. So you've also got that protection in the headrest as well, which is good. So if somebody does come on your tail and shoot in, your pilot is likely to survive in that respect. So survivability is actually pretty good in this plane. X-ray, as you'll see, the twin engines here, general wing spars, the twin Hispano guns, the 404 cannons, which, as I say, they're not great, the 404s. I've really not been enjoying them too much. They can do okay damage, but they tend to spark an awful lot, which is very frustrating. It doesn't help that you get the practice round in there for so many of the belts, which I just... No, you just roll your eyes sometimes at that. It's just, you've got bugger all ammunition anyway, so let's just put the practice shell in there to do nothing. Universal belt's pretty good. You have got the ground attack belt as well, which is nice, so 26mm penetration with it. Not many modifications to the plane, in all honesty. You don't get any extra armaments or any bombs, anything like that with this plane, which is kind of odd for one of the heavy fighters. Usually you get some ground attacking capabilities, some rockets and things like that, but this plane did not have anything progressive for it like that at all. As I said, there is the upgraded VB1002, the VB10CO2, which has got the 12.7mm Browning machine guns in there, and you've got 6 of them in total, as well as the quad 404s, 404 20mm Spanos. So this thing, I feel, is going to be the better variant of the plane. It's only at 4.7 as well, so it's going to be a great help in that respect. It's going to fly pretty much exactly the same. It's exactly the same plane, just with those additional guns on board. The only downside to this is it does have extra weight. In an already weighty plane, it doesn't help things at all. Do I have the... I don't think there's the... weight on there. No, we've only got the speeds and stuff like that. But, yeah, as I said, those additional 50 cals will really help in this plane's attack capability. Other than that, it's not a terrible plane, but there are many better planes out there. You've got to play it smart. I'd probably recommend bomber hunting with it. It's going to be a reasonably good bomber hunter in that respect, but again, you've got to be able to climb and intercept for them. You don't get an air spawn in this plane either. You are spawned on the ground, which is a bit of a pain for an interceptor plane to be ground spawning. Anyway, I do hope you found this video interesting. Please give it a like. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you've got this plane, let me know what you think of it. And I will see you next time, guys. Until then, this is Screezilla out, and have a lovely day. Bye-bye.